dear students. I hope you all are safe and healthy at your home. Today in this video you will learn about algorithm, pseudocode and flowchart. Already you have learned about algorithm and flowchart. What is algorithm? Let me concise a solution in a short word. Algorithm is a step-by-step solution of any problem, whereas a flowchart is a pictorial solution of any problem. Now here is introduced a new word that is pseudocode. What is pseudocode? So for learning about this new word, let's move to the PPT.
Difference between algorithm and flowchart. What is an algorithm? An algorithm is a sequence of instructions that are followed to complete a task. This task can be anything, as long as you can give precise step-by-step instruction for it. For example, to make yourself a sandwich, you have to follow a sequence of steps in the right order. If you do something in the wrong order, you might end up making a mess. Algorithms exist all around us. A recipe for baking a cake can be considered a type of algorithm. It tells us what ingredients are needed to bake the cake and what steps to follow. Solving problems. There is usually more than one way to solve a problem. There may be many different recipes to bake a cake, but all of them end up tasting the same when followed. The same is true for algorithms. Algorithms are very often used to describe how a computer might solve a problem. They are normally written in pseudocode or drawn as a flow chart. Pseudocode. It spells Pseudocode. In this word, P is silent and we will pronounce it as a pseudocode. Pseudocode is a form of code that is written for humans, not computers, to read. It is often written to show how an algorithm works. Computing textbooks often use pseudocode in their examples so that all programmers can understand them, even if they do not all know the same programming language. Now, for example, for making a cup of tea, the first step will be to organize everything together. Plug in kettle, put tea bag in cup, put water into kettle, wait for kettle to boil, add water to cup, remove tea bag with spoon or fork, add milk and or add sugar. At last, serve it. So this the proper organization of preparing a cup of tea is called a pseudocode. Next is flowcharts. A flowchart is a diagram that represent a set of instructions A flowchart is a diagram that represent a set of instructions. Flowchart normally use standard symbols to represent the different types of instructions. These symbols are used to construct the flowchart and show the step-by-step solution to the problem. Flowchart can be used to plan out a programs. Now there are basics, shapes or symbol used in a flowchart. Now the first one is known as start or and. The function of this start or and symbol is an oval represent to start or and point. Now second is arrow. The function of arrow, a line is a connector that shows relationships between representative shapes. Third one, input and output. A parallelogram represent input or output. Fourth one, it is a processing box and it is represented as a rectangular and it helps to show that the process is going on. And the last fifth one is a decision box. A diamond indicates decision. In the flow chart below, the program uses an input box to ask a user to input. If it is raining, then it uses a decision box to make a choice to decide what to do next. If the answer to the question is no, then it tells you to leave the umbrella at home. If the answer is yes, it tells you to take an umbrella. Now let's draw this situation in a flowchart. With the help of oval box, it starts, and with the help of the same oval box, this process ends. After starting, the question arises, or question can be written in a box. It is a trapezium, and it will be ask, it is raining today. Now it can be processed in a diamond box as is it raining. Now there is two different situation. The first one is, if there will be rain, take an umbrella. This is one situation. If there will be no raining, then leave umbrella at home. In the both the cases, the umbrella is main. Now this flowchart ends at the last with an oval box. Now computing languages. Whether you have written your algorithm as pseudocode or drawn it as a flowchart, it will next need to translate it into code, which the computer will then follow to complete a task. This code is written in a programming language. There are many different types of programming languages. Some that you may come across, like Scratch, Logo, and so on. Now, learn the difference between algorithm and flowchart. Algorithm. Algorithm is a step-by-step procedure to solve the problem. And flowchart is a diagram created by different shapes to show the flow of data. Algorithm is a complex to understand, whereas flowchart is easy to understand. In algorithm, plain text are used, whereas in flowchart, symbols, shapes are used. Algorithm is easy to debug. Now what is debug? Debug means to find out the mistake in whole problem or in a solution. Whereas in flowchart, it is hard to debug. Means in a flowchart, it is quite impossible to find the mistake. Next is algorithm is difficult to construct. If you are going to design any example or any work in an algorithm form, it is quite difficult to construct. And in flowchart is easy to construct. Algorithm does not follow any rules, whereas in flowchart follows rules to be constructed. Next, algorithm is a pseudocode for the program, whereas flowchart is represented of that logic.